All right, hey there, Sam with you. What are we, Thursday, March 29th, and our second cryptocurrency up for the day for analysis per the polling amongst members that we do is EOS, EOS to the dollar here. So now I've got it up on Bitfinex, and just most of you I'm sure are aware of this, but EOS is one of the very strongest cryptocurrencies here. You can look at the scoring here over on CoinGecko. Market cap 4.6 billion. These are really impressive numbers. 89 here of interest amongst the development community. Really strong project. Now, look at the volume spread here. So what's interesting is that the Korean won is the bulk of the volume. It just dominates the volume. But if the request amongst members was to look at it relative to the dollar. So if we're looking for the dollar here, I can see pretty good gap here between Bitfinex and then I got to go down to OKEX. And it's twice the volume. So we're going to look at it on Bitfinex where we can get a good read on it relative to that volume. So here's what I have here. So we absolute low here to the high. We don't need to dig back in through all of that here, but we can certainly call that a completed structure, right? There's our swing low to swing high. Is that a one wave? Well, it's a candidate. Now we've gone deep here. Now, granted, right? So interestingly, swing low, swing high. Here's the first retracement. Let's just go straight down, right to the 618 to the tick. Rips up for our B. Now we're back down. We get through here again, and now we've been making this very deep correction here. Is this a technical low for us? Well, it's a contender for it, right? So I mean, that's deep for this kind of a correction. But there's potentially a setup here. You can see that, obviously I've got a count here on it as a contender. Now let's see if we can qualify that. So a few things to consider here. Now, given that straight rip down and then the move up here, which is the push to try and get to new highs that fails, and then we come back down, it's really hard not to call that a completed ABC. So which leads me into the WXY. So this would be our X wave, and then potentially we've got an ABC that has completed down here. Now we got to dig into lower time frame. This is an 8-hour chart. So if we dig down a little bit, let's go to a 3-hour, see if that helps us at all. So pulling this back now. So a couple things we can see. This is a bit confusing here because we get this 3-wave here. So possibility here that we have this is an A, B, and then we get a truncated C over here. But for the time being, I'll play this as the 1, 2, and then it looks like we get 3, 4, 5 to complete this C. So a few things we want to check because we want to try and qualify this as a pivot. So if that's a good technical low, then the potential is there for this to be playing as a 1, 2, and we are off to a new trend correction is over. Now it's just the potential for it. So we can start trying to dial in on this. So if that's the X wave and we're going ABC, well, so the obvious thing, we would start looking for a relationship. Here's the length of the A wave projected from the B. Do I get anything over here if I pull that over? Well, here's a contender right here for high probability zone. What happened here? Did I get it? Let's try that again. What I want here, that's what I want. So here's my 1618, 175 kind of overlapping with the 786 sitting between it. Yeah, we did have that spike through it. But that, that's a contender here, right? So maybe just a little extreme move here. We get some stop running on the other side of the 786. Pretty good reaction coming off of that low. Can we call that low in? Well, a few other things we could check. We could certainly look for a relationship here as we go looking at retracement. So from here, so no surprise here we go, what do we do? So if I dig in there, you can see it. So from the proposed X wave pivot high here to our low, we go literally right to the golden zone, right? See it right in between. Then down we go. Here's first target, second target, all the way to the third target, right? So we know, as I've shown you many times, the negative 100 will be right on top of the 1618. So we see that hitting and then actually getting through it. Is there anything within that to help us? Well, we can see there's a 1, 2, 3, 4, and it looks like we finish in 5 here. So whether this is the 5 and we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the subdivision is there. So that's encouraging. Clearly we could look here. Now this is a point of note. Now, so if this is going to play, if we're going to WXY, then this is an ABC, and then that being our low would imply that if that's the ABC completing the second ABC in our Y low, then we'd be going 1, 2. Well, interestingly, the alternate would be that this is 1, 2, 3. This is our deep 4, and then we're coming down. Now, so we'd measure that. So you'd want to look at that. If that were a 2 instead of a B, we'd take the length of the third wave. And what do? Yet again, right into the golden zone. So I'll take this off since we can get rid of that. So right into the golden zone. So just as we did previously, right? So no surprise here. It's nothing new. Right to the golden zone reaction. But what's interesting is that we don't overlap. We stay away from that pivot low. So you could make the case here, it's just structural support. So here's prior support offers the resistance here, but it keeps alive the idea that this could be 1, 2, 3, 4, not overlapping that as a 1 suggests that the possibility is there that this is our 3, 4, deep 4, albeit a deep 4 going all the way to the 6, 5, and then we're heading down for this algo target, which sits down here, right? So we know algorithms sold there. Their target is down here, right? Which would change the count. We'd have to do some relabeling and some rethinking about where we are. But currently, we have the possibility that this is a good low and that we have now an impulsive move off of that low. And now we've just anyone want to guess where that 2 goes? Right, so if that's my 1, right to the golden zone, right? So you can see how technically this is trading. That should be no surprise considering what a strong project this is. Algorithms are all over it. So we've just gone from golden zone to golden zone, 618 to 618. It's incredibly technical. What has been less technical is this pivot here. So even if I dig in there, it's a little tougher to get that low qualified, but this is encouraging, right? So we have this fib fight. So we have the golden zone here and the golden zone here. So in this range, we are just in a fib fight, just algos battling it out with one another. Who wins? Well, we got to see, can we take out this pivot or are we going to take out this pivot? Well, it's going to be one or the other. So we're sitting in this range in EOS where we can't really declare anything other than our own opinion about where this is going next. It could just as easily be pivoting here as I showed it, right? So, TradingView has a few things that bug me. So that's the last 618, right? As I showed that's going down there. We could just as easily be breaking and going up towards this algo target off of this one here, right? So that's the first target. Now, can it get impulsive? Can we get an Elliott count? Well, then we know our if we're going that low, right, as I've shown you many times, we know the 1618 will be right on top of that since we went right to the 618. So here's the target now. If this is going to be an Elliott count, if we're going to get a 1, 2, 3, there's our high probability zone for the third, right? We know that the 1618, 175, which sets up the 4, which then sets up the push for the 5, right? And now so all of that needs to happen to really confirm that low. But first question is, can this potential 2 hold? Right, and give us then we'd be, of course, within that third, we'd be looking for the impulsive structure here that would give us and help qualify that as a third, right? Then the next trade is waiting for the 4. So if you're bullish, as I am on EOS, both to Bitcoin and to the dollar, then the potential here is that this is 1, 2, and then if we dig down, let's go down to the hourly, that we're just now in the 1, 2 of the third. So let's do that. If I pop this up a little bit, there we go. Okay, so we know that we've got that target up there. We can take this range. We know we're from 618 to 618. So if that's a good 2, well, potentially now I may have well, we got to dig in a little more closely here. All right, so this double top here, it's never easy. Double top makes it a little challenging. So do I have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for a diagonal? Yeah, I mean, yeah, could be. So we'd have, so this could play here as a 1. So we double top. It actually looks like it's a slight truncation. So that would be our 1, 2 going up for the 3, 4, 5. So it's there, right? I don't love the truncated fifth. It's, it's just, again, it's never easy. So is that 1, 2? So I can see a nice little 3 wave here into that low. So if I go again, right? So if that were my 1 wave here, so the fact that I've come to the 50 qualifies this. So that's a contender for a 1, 2. You know, is that a buy in there? I actually like this better against Bitcoin, but yeah, I mean, it's certainly there. So it's certainly there. So that's kind of trader's choice. So if that we're going to play as a 1-2, right? So here's the algo target. So if that's going to get up to a third, we've got all of this setting up for us. So can we get off of this 2, this as a 2, going towards this as our 3, right? So as I go, if I could take it back to see what I'm trying to create here is the roadmap to get us from 1-2, 1-2. This would be our 3, 4, 5. 3, 4, 5, right? So that would be, so that would just be our one wave. If we get this, our one wave of our third wave of the larger degree. So if I put that in a, let's go up a degree. Go to minuet, and we'll change the color. See, kind of makes sense. So could this be the one wave? So 1, 2, well, we need a one wave in our third. We know we've got those big targets up here. So how are we going to get there? That's our high probability zone. So of course we're going to put a pitchfork on it, right, to give us some geometry that we can lean on looking for this to hold. So if that's our, so there's our golden corner pocket right there, right? So that's bread and butter trade, right? Can we get that? There's the golden corner pocket. We've got an 80% probability of making the median line off of that pivot if, key qualifier, if this pivot holds, right? So from length of the 1 from the proposed 2, 80% probability of getting the median line. It's the best odds in trading. Now, is it getting it here? Are we getting it here? Right? So there's this time component here. So putting it out here, that would put it at April 21st. Is that possible? Well, we're going to have to get there. So this, you're trying to lay out a potential roadmap here. So if this is going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, well, we're not there yet. So here's our target up here. So that likely just the 1, 2. So if you start putting the structure to it, so that would be 1. So let me take that off. So we potentially have this setting up for 1 to be going in now. So this would be 1 if we get there, right? So all hypothetical. Then can we get a 2 into that? Gosh, Jesus, come on. Trading view, sometimes you're really annoying. Okay, then down for the 2. Then we could get this again. Now, this is the tell. Do we get the push up for the 3? Right? So 1, 2. We know the target is up here. Can we get there in that fashion? Right? And where does the median line fit into that? Right? Do we need to go to a modifier? That's, we might have to consider that given the passage of time. So maybe we start having to look for the shift. Right? Maybe that's 1, 2. All right, so it stays within the geometry if we add the shift. So now we've got the upper, that's 200% of the upper pair of the 100% of the median line, right? So working from those pivots. So potentially now that starts to be a contender that could play as a 1, 2 going up for the 3, bumping into this upper parallel, sets up the move back to the median line. So that certainly is a reasonable roadmap. Now, does that mean it happens? Of course not, but it's certainly there. So if you're looking for places to get long, right, and you're sitting with some fiat and some dollars and you're looking to put it to work, this is not a bad place to be looking because we've got reasonable risk reward here. So if I just draw it this way and we look at, well, where would we be, violation of this count would be below this low. So here's our 6.5. So if you're a buyer in here, right, so you're looking for that as your range, and then this would be your first target. So what do we get there? 3 to 1. Stop under the 65 on the assumption that this holds, right? So right now I'm with the modifier. If we go back to original, right, it makes it a little bit more poignant. So can we hold this pivot, right? That's what sustains our 80% odds of getting to the median line. Right, whether it's here or here or here. So we hold that. So there's a 3 to 1 that you could be looking at here with a decent target. Nothing wrong with that. I'm just eyeballing that. That looks like about 3 to 1. If you're going to give it that much room, you don't have to, right? You could try and enter a little bit lower, risking not getting filled on the assumption that we're going to end up with something more along, like if I go to a 30-minute, like we're going to get an ABC in there. So I've got this ABC. Is this the 1, 2, right? So again, it's the same thing applied over and over again. So if that 2 is good and we're in with a 2 relative to this lower degree, well then all we're looking for is the 1, 2 of the next degree up. So there's 1, 2. What have we done? Right to the 618. So it's certainly buyable in there. So if you wanted to take a first bite at it, so let me get some of this off. That's not an unreasonable place to be looking. All right, so we know we've got our golden corner pocket down here. If I tighten this up, you have to do when you move time zones or time frames. All right, so 1, 2, so 1 diagonal. A, B, C into my 2. I got to start into that third somehow. 1, 2, right to the 618. So that's a reasonable place you could be looking for. Well, let me do it this way. That's a reasonable place to be looking to get long right here at the 618. Here's your first target. Here's the larger target we're trying to play into. You could put a stop right underneath that. That's 3.8 to 1, assuming you get to the first target. Right now, pull that back out, and we've got some upper targets, but that's not a bad place to be looking to get into the trade. Right, so if you took the stop there, that's going to be a modest amount of risk. You've certainly got, you can see targets all the way up to here, right, working off of this, right? So here's the dominant, this 618 with that target up here. Now we look at that, that's almost 10 to 1. And you're just trying to squeak in here off of the 1, 2, 1, 2. Right, but recognizing that you're going to have potential algo reactions along the way. But if this is, so we defer to the longer time frame. So if that holds, right? So this is the dominant swing we're trading off of, that this holds, keeping that bullish count intact, assuming that holds off of that 618, 1, 2, 1, 2, down to the 1, 2. Can you get in? Reasonable spot, right? So here, from this, here's our first target, right? And then we know we've got bigger targets all the way, right? So potentially, right, what's in there, if you ride it out, or at least a portion of it, now you've got 22 to 1. All right, well, is that good enough for you to get in there and maybe take a swing at it? Well, I know I'm already long in Bitcoin, so I like it here. I like it here. I don't want to be overly exposed to EOS in both dollar and Bitcoin, but it's hard not to like this. So if you're in and you're just like me, kind of watching Bitcoin going, man, it's hard to get a read on it, but you want to deploy some capital, this is not a bad place to look, right? And I would encourage you to look at it against Bitcoin as well. Right, 22 to 1, I'll take that all day long. All right, guys, I'll wrap it there.